This question, and you just mentioned how many finals, unfortunately, LeBron James has been forced to lose. I wondered if last night LeBron was sitting back watching his best friend Dwyane Wade do what he did last night to Toronto down the stretch. And I wondered if LeBron was thinking, gee, I wish I'd had that D Wade back in 2014 when those San Antonio Spurs of mine blew them off the floor in 5 games. Remember that, Dwyane? He averaged 15 a game, which by far his finals low.
His knees were messed up.
He was a wreck, man. He looked old. He looked a little heavy. He looked slow. He looked, on some nights, dare I say, decrepit by Dwyane Wade's standards of what we've known.
By his standards, yes.
And through this series against Toronto, through 4 games, Dwyane Wade is averaging 27.3 points a game. This as he ends up his 13th NBA season at age 34, which isn't that old until you think of 13 NBA seasons. But right now, this Dwyane, to me, and it's doing my heart a lot of good, he looks 34 going on 24. That last-second swoop to the hoop last night, Stephen A., to tie the game, send it into overtime, was that not vintage Dwyane? My God, how explosive, athletic was that? It was beautiful to watch. It was a sight for sore eyes because we've had to sit through watching Dwyane not quite be Dwyane over the last, really, 3 years. And that was a night, last night, in which Dwyane Wade, remember, they were down 9 at home midway 4th quarter. He put that team on his back and carried them home. He said he was a little gassed in overtime, and he was a little bit of a decoy. So I'm not saying he dominated the overtime, but he sure dominated the last, say, 6-7 minutes of that game. And it was amazing to me to watch the Miami Heat, and I talked about this the other day, their offense now is kind of degenerated into they just hand the ball to Dwyane out front and say, okay, do something. And he creates, sometimes against 1, sometimes against 2. Sometimes he creates his own shot. Sometimes he creates a play for a teammate. But that's who they are now. It's Dwyane or bust on offense. So what have we got now? Best 2 out of 3 with 2 of those games in Toronto. There's no Valanciunas on one side, no big man for Toronto, and I'm assuming there's going to be no Hassan Whiteside with his sprained knee on the other side. So I'm still going to give a slight edge to Dwyane Wade to get them home. They're going to have to obviously win a game at Toronto and get to the next round. But without Hassan Whiteside, it's hard for me to build any more case, obviously no Chris Bosh, for Dwyane Wade beating LeBron James or even giving him much of a scare in the Eastern Conference Finals, if they get that far.
I completely agree with you. I'm a roll with the Miami Heat and Dwyane Wade. I picked them before the series began. I give Toronto a lot of credit. Dwayne Casey is just an exceptional coach. And Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan can play, even though DeMar DeRozan's been struggling. He's a little bit hurt, but these brothers can play, and they got a lot of heart, and I give them a lot of credit. But Dwyane Wade is so special, and he's reminding us that he's not only a 3-time champion, but he is a future Hall of Famer. This is a guy that shows up in big moments and rises to the occasion consistently, and that's the true measure of greatness when all is said and done. I'm referring to Brian Windhorst, our very own Brian Windhorst, as a comment the other day about how there was some friction amongst the Miami Heat because obviously, you've got Dwyane Wade and Eric Spoelstra making the decision to get the ball in the hands of Dwyane Wade as opposed to the focal point being Goran Dragic because the Heat look better with Goran Dragic. Let me say this to Brian Windhorst, who does an exceptional job for us. I'm sorry, but there are certain things in life that are laughable. And the one thing that is laughable is this notion that Goran Dragic is going to be somebody who's a primary option ahead of Dwyane Wade. I'm sorry. You're going to put the ball in the hands of Dwyane Wade all day, every day, when the moments count the most. Goran Dragic hit a big three last night, no doubt about that, but he's not ambidextrous. He continuously goes left, shoots with his left. There's nothing that's unpredictable or spontaneous about him as far as I'm concerned. And even though he's formidable, he is no Dwyane Wade. Dwyane Wade is in a different class. Losing 20 pounds this offseason, losing that weight, getting a little bit more spry in his step. His knees not bothering him nearly as much as it was years ago. I have to give credit where credit is due. He's a bad brother. He is special, and he is showing it throughout these playoffs. And it's not just with his scoring prowess. It's with his defense. He's making steals. fouls. He's blocking key shots. He's making key shots. He's a closer, Skip. He's one of the ultimate closers in this game. It's why when he's ultimately inducted into the Hall of Fame, we're going to remember moments like this. Yes, he played with LeBron, and you get that lost in the shuffle, and Shaq at one time, you get that lost in the shuffle, or whatever the case may be. But ultimately, when it came down to the wire, the irony in all of this is that the Dwyane Wade that we were looking for over the last couple of years, who has returned now, is the same Dwyane Wade LeBron relied on to close from time to time. Shaq and Alonzo and those boys relied on to close when he was NBA Finals MVP back in 2006. This is the man, and he is showing it right now. And but he's got a rough patch ahead, because I think it would be best for him to try and steal Game 5 in Toronto and close it out in Game 6, because you do not want to go to Toronto for a Game 7.
Yep.
That will be a really, really tough call for him. In
my time watching pro basketball, obviously the guy I wanted most to have the ball in his hands at the end of a game was Michael Jordan. Kobe's somewhere up in there, but so is Dwyane Wade to me. In fact, if I really thought hard about it, I might have Dwyane second on my list of who I would want to have the ball in his hands with the clock running down. Got to make a shot, like last night. He just said, get out of my way. I'm basically going to swoop through the entire team. It seemed like there are 4 Raptors in his way, and he got all the way up to the hoop. Wow. And the only reason I would say this to you, that I'll put Dwyane Wade right there with Kobe, if not, dare I say, give a slice edge, is because, you know, Kobe would usually pull up and shoot a long-range jumper and bury you that way. Dwyane Wade has this ability. If he's not hitting the jump shot, he's going to get to the hole. He's going to create contact. He's going to get to the free throw line. There's a multitude of ways he seems to beat you in those final moments, more so than anybody outside of MJ. He does. Agreed.
Right. Certainly. Incredible. A doubleheader last night they put on a show when you two are speechless. I mean, that says a lot, right?
We sure talked a lot for being speechless, didn't we?
There's another Game 5, though, a pivotal one. I know Stephen A. will be watching. Skip, I don't know if you'll be able to watch it. It is...
You know what? You might be right about that. In fact, I'm so worn out from the first 4, I don't know if I can even watch this one.
Yeah?
It's tearing me up.
Oh, boy. Thunder Spurs. That's next. The guys will pick it. Stay with us. It's First Take.